Snow dusts the clapboard houses of this Maine seaside town Christmas Eve, 2023. I'm Eldrick 62, trudging through the harbor streets, where twinkling lights battle the fog. The air smells of salt and pine sharp enough to sting. Carolers hum Silent Night by the docks, their voices soft against the lapping waves. My boots crunch on fresh powder, each step heavier than the last. Lyora, my wife, is at the market, probably smiling for the neighbors. We've gotten good at pretending everything's fine. I pull my coat tighter, the wool scratching my neck. Financial strain's been our shadow since the pay cut, 60% gone like it was nothing. Leora HR director delivered the ultimatum, accept or leave. I took it, but it carved something out of me. Now I avoid the banking app on my phone, dreading the numbers. My fingers fumble in my pocket, brushing an old envelope. I stop under a street lamp, its glow catching the snowflakes. The paper's worn, addressed to me in Thane's jagged scrawl, our son, 35, who hasn't called in years. I tear it open, heart thudding. Dad, I'm planning something for Christmas. Don't give up on us. No signature, just hope inked on faded lines. My breath catches a flicker of warmth in this cold night. Thane. The artist we pushed away wants a reunion. I clutch the letter, its edges soft from years in my coat. The carolers' voices swell, promising peace, but estrangement's weight lingers. Can words bridge a decade's silence? Why'd I keep this letter so long? I think staring at the harbor. Maybe I needed to believe we could be a family again. The thought's fragile, like the snow underfoot. I've carried regrets longer than this coat, arguments with Thane nights. Lyora and I slept back to back. Dialogue could have fixed it, but pride got in the way. Now this letter feels like a second chance. The docks stretch into the fog, lobster traps stacked like forgotten dreams. I picture Thane's face, his stubborn jaw, his paint-stained hands. What's he planning? My phone buzzes Leora, probably wondering where I am. I slip the letter back, its promise burning in my chest. The carolers fade, and I head toward the market, snow swirling. Family bonds don't break easy, I tell myself. Maybe they just need a spark. The Christmas market glows under a thickening Maine snowfall, each booth cloaked in warm light and the scent of cinnamon and sea air. Somewhere behind the glimmer and cheer beneath the garlands and flickering bulbs, I walk Eldrick 62, bundled in a coat, older than some of the kids dashing past me. Snow gathers in the folds of my scarf, melting into cold streaks down my neck. Leora is beside me, her presence both comforting and painfully distant. She smiles at passers-by, waving at neighbors, her voice lilting and bright like a woman who's never lost a thing. But I know better. I know what we've lost, what we're still losing quietly, inch by inch. She looks radiant tonight. Holiday lights reflect in her eyes, casting soft sparkles on her skin, like she belongs to this season, this joy. But when I look closer, I see the effort behind it. I see how carefully she holds that smile, how her laughter lands a second too late, too practiced. It's the same way I force a grin when someone greets me, the same way I nod at carolers, like the music moves me. We've both become good at pretending. Eldrick, look at the wreaths, Leora says, pointing toward a stall where handcrafted pine wreaths hang like halos. Her voice is light, festive. I nod reflexively, letting the wordless hum of agreement pass my lips. She's performing, and I'm part of the act. From the outside, we look like a content couple strolling through a winter postcard. But that image is paper-thin, barely covering the cracks that started the moment I received the company-wide email about the pay cuts, and realized Leora, my wife, the HR director, already knew. I slip a gloved hand into my pocket, touching the envelope. Thane's letter. It's been folded and refolded so many times the creases feel like scars. His words inside it, words of forgiveness, of wanting to reconnect after 2 years of silence, beat like a second pulse. He wants to come home. Or try to. I haven't told Leora yet. I don't know if I should. Beside me, she leans in to admire a string of hand-blown glass ornaments. Her laugh, warm and effortless, rises in the cold air as she chats with a vendor. I watch her like a stranger might, trying to remember what it felt like to be the one she looked at that way. There was a time, not so long ago, when I believed we were unshakable. Now, I'm not so sure we aren't just too tired to fall apart. I reach for my phone, needing distraction, craving some illusion of control. I tap open the banking app. It churns loads, then flashes error. I curse under my breath as quietly as I can. I hate this damned thing. It always betrays me when I need reassurance the most. The numbers scare me. The balances have shrunk with each passing month, but the expenses remain relentless mortgage heating prescriptions. Pride kept me from saying yes to part-time work at the hardware store. Now I wonder if that pride was just fear dressed up as principle. "You okay?" Leora asks, turning toward me. Her tone is softer now, lower, less performative. There's something behind her eyes I can't quite place, worry maybe. Or guilt. "Fine," I say too quickly. I shove the phone into my pocket alongside Thane's letter. The crowd swells around us, kids shrieking with joy, couples clasping mittened hands, the air filled with roasting chestnuts and peppermint cocoa. It should be beautiful. Instead, I feel small, useless, a retired operations manager with no one left to manage, no steady income, and a wife who smiles more for strangers than she does for me. A caroler's voice rises above the din, "Oh, come all ye faithful." The lyrics feel like a cruel joke. Faithful. What does that even mean anymore? Faithful to what? A marriage where we no longer speak about anything real. A son we lost to silence. A version of myself that doesn't exist. She walks ahead now, pausing to examine a snow globe. I watch her the way she cradles it gently, almost maternally. Her eyes soften, and for a moment I see the girl I married, the one who danced barefoot in the kitchen at midnight, the one who once whispered, "I believe in you," when I couldn't get the promotion I wanted. That version of her still lives somewhere behind the polished mask of the HR director. But can I reach her? "Leora?" I begin, voice hoarse. Just then, a little boy darts between us, his cup of cider tipping. A splash of it hits my coat, hot and sticky. "Oh, sorry, mister," he yells, vanishing into the sea of people. Leora hands me a napkin, our fingers brushing. Her touch lingers, and for half a second something flickers. A memory, a possibility. "We should talk," I say, not caring how fragile I sound. Her eyes meet mine. There's hesitation in them, then deflection. Later she says, barely above a whisper. She smiles again, too fast, too perfect. The curtain drops back into place. The conversation dies before it's even born. The market feels colder now. The music distant. The snow falls harder, thick like ash, and I wonder if this is what it means to drift not with a storm, but slowly under the weight of things unsaid. I follow her down the winding aisle of vendors, the envelope still warm in my coat pocket. Compassion, I think. That's what we need. Not performance, not avoidance. But how do you reach for someone who's mastered the art of slipping away? How do you ask to be seen when you've both become invisible to each other? I don't know. But maybe tonight under the snow and the lights and the ache of old carols, I'll find the words. Or maybe I'll find the courage to try. The fog rolls thick over our Maine seaside home, swallowing the harbor's glow. I'm Eldrick 62, standing in our cramped living room, the Christmas tree's lights flickering like a weak pulse. Foghorns moan outside a low wail that matches the tension simmering inside. Leora's in the kitchen, her phone pressed to her ear, voice clipped. The pay cut 60% of my life's work gone hangs between us a ghost we don't name. Financial strains carved lines in my face deeper than the salt air ever could. Thane's letter still in my coat whispers hope, but it's drowned by the weight of tonight. I pace the floorboards, creaking under my boots. The market's cheer feels distant now, Leora's forced smile, a memory. I catch a glimpse of Thane's old painting on the wall, a stormy sea, all blues and grays like his eyes when we last fought. Our son, 35, an artist we didn't understand. Seeing it stabs me a reminder of words I can't take back. Why's it still up? I wonder, tracing the frame. Maybe Leora misses him too. Her voice cuts through. Yes, the cuts are final. No exceptions. I freeze, heart thudding. She's on a work call, HR mode, cold efficient, the same tone she used when she told me to accept or leave. Anger flares hot and sharp. I storm into the kitchen, the air smelling of burnt coffee and pine. Leora. Who was that? My voice is louder than I mean shaking. She lowers the phone, eyes narrowing. Work, Eldrick. You know that. Work, I snap. Sounded like you're still slashing lives. Like mine. Her jaw tightens, but she doesn't look away. It's not personal. It's business. Business, I laugh, bitter. That cut was our life, our savings, our future. You think I wanted this? She fires back, voice cracking. I had no choice. There's always a choice, I shout, slamming my hand on the counter. The coffee mug rattles, and we both go still. The foghorns wail again, a mournful echo. I'm breathing hard, regret creeping in. This isn't us, I think. We don't fight like this. Leora. I start, but she turns away, gripping the sink. Her shoulders tremble, and I want to reach out, but my pride's a wall. Honesty could stop this, I tell myself, but what's she hiding? The painting catches my eye again. Thane's stormy sea. Did she keep it to remember, or to punish me? I sink into a chair, head in my hands. The job loss floods back meeting spreadsheets the day Leora delivered the news. I took the cut to keep peace, but it broke something. We used to talk, really talk, I think. When did we lose that dialogue could fix this if we'd just try? The fog presses against the windows, and I wonder if trust is gone, or just buried like the harbor in this haze. The Harbor Festival sparkles under a snowy Maine sky. Christmas lights strung across lobster traps like stars. I'm Eldrick 62, pushing through the crowd, the air sharp with salt and fried clams. My breath clouds in the cold, my heart still raw from our fight. Leora's ahead, her red coat a beacon among the stalls, chatting with neighbors, like nothing's wrong. The pay cut, 60% of my worth, sliced away by her HR decree, burns in my chest. Financial strains our silent partner, draining our savings, our trust. Thane's letter tucked in my pocket feels like a dare to hope, but anger's louder tonight. Festival music jangles a cheery fiddle, clashing with my mood. Lobster traps decked with tinsel line the docks, a Maine quirk that usually makes me smile. Not now. Leora's laugh carries over bright and false. She's hiding something. I think her work call echoing in my head. The crowd's warmth feels suffocating, their joy a mirror to my isolation. My phone buzzes a text from Thane. Dad, I'm in town. Talk soon. My pulse jumps. He's here. Why now? I catch up to Leora at a wreath stall, her smile faltering when she sees me. Eldrick. You're pale, she says, touching my arm. The gesture's soft, but I pull back, anger spilling over. Was it you? I demand, voice rising. Heads turn the fiddle, pausing. Did you push for my pay cut? Her eyes widen, face flushing. Eldrick not here. Answer me, I shout, stepping closer. Was it your call, Leora? Our savings, our life gone because of you. The crowd hushes, eyes on us. Leora's mouth tightens, but she holds my gaze. You think I wanted to hurt you? She snaps, voice low but sharp. I was following orders, I laugh bitter. You're HR. You gave the orders. She flinches, and for a second I see pain, not defiance, but my hurt's too loud. You broke us. I say quieter now, the words heavy. I turn, storming toward the docks, snow crunching underfoot. The festival lights blur, music restarting as whispers follow me. I slump against a piling, waves lapping below. What's Thane's role? I think his text glowing on my phone. The fight's left me hollow regret creeping in. Honesty could have stopped this, I tell myself. But I just burned that bridge. My savings checked this morning, barely enough for a year. Flash in my mind, a cold truth. Dialogue might uncover what Leora's hiding, but pride's a wall I keep building. The harbor's dark lights dancing on the water. I think of Thane's painting its stormy sea, and wonder if he's watching this wreck unfold. Trust's a fragile thing. I reflect the festival's glow fading behind me. Can we rebuild it? Or is this the end? The sun sets low over Camden Harbor, painting the December sky in tender streaks of rose and gold. Snow drifts down in lazy spirals, dusting the boats, and piling quietly on the dock posts like nature's own garland. I walk slowly through it all, my boots crunching softly into the fresh powder, each step a little heavier than the last. I'm Eldrick, 62 years old, and tonight I'm not just walking home from the Christmas festival, I'm walking through the aftermath of a conversation I can't seem to forget. The air is cold enough to sting the skin, laced with the scent of salt brine and distant pine. Familiar smells. Steady. But inside me nothing feels steady. My heart is still reeling from the words Leora hurled at me. I was following orders, Eldrick. As if that explains everything. As if that somehow justifies cutting 60% of my salary, 60% of a life's work sliced away with a memo. The betrayal wasn't just in the numbers. It was in the silence before it. The decision made behind closed doors without my voice in the room. I've always believed in dignity, in showing up, doing the work, building a life that matters. But now our savings are thinning like the winter light. Every receipt I tuck into my wallet feels like a countdown. Every silence at the dinner table a quiet reminder that something's broken. And yet tonight, there's something else. In my coat pocket, a folded letter. Handwritten. Thane's handwriting. My son. Or the ghost of who he was before everything fractured. I'm in town, his text had said, just hours ago. 5 simple words carrying years of weight. I haven't seen him in 2 Christmases. Haven't heard his voice since the fight. The streets are dressed in quiet celebration. Christmas wreaths hang from every porch door, their ribbons fluttering in the breeze, vivid against the aging clapboard homes. Candles glow behind frosted windows. Laughter rises faintly from somewhere muffled by snow. But in this twilight hush, the harbor feels like a sanctuary. Peaceful. Too peaceful maybe for all that's stirring inside me. As I near the corner grocery, I spot Mrs. Carter, 80, if she's a day, shuffling carefully along the icy sidewalk, grocery bags weighing her arms. Her scarf is slipping, the wind teasing it loose. "Need a hand, Mrs. Carter," I call out, stepping closer. Her eyes brighten when she sees me, and the smile that breaks across her face is soft, grateful. "Would you, Eldrick? These old bones aren't what they used to be." I take the bags from her, careful not to let the glass bottle clink. Her hands tremble slightly, and for a moment I see not just her age, but her resilience. We walk the short path to her front steps, her boots crunching beside mine. When I set the bags down on her porch, she touches my arm. "Thank you," she says simply. And in that moment I feel something loosen, a thread of usefulness tugging at the part of me that's felt discarded since the market layoffs. Maybe it's not much, but to help to be seen again, even in this small way, it matters. We over 60s know a bit about loneliness, about what it means to feel invisible. Sometimes a single gesture pushes that darkness back. I nod to her, tip my cap, and continue on. When I turn onto our street, I see our house glowing faintly in the gathering dusk. The porch light is on, and there, standing in the snow, is Leora. Her red coat is dusted with white, her gloved hands folded tightly in front of her. She's scanning the road, and when she sees me, she straightens. My steps slow. I'm not ready, but I'm tired of being angry too. There's a look in her eyes I can't quite place, equal parts regret and resolve. The kind of look I remember from years ago when we faced hard choices together. Before HR titles and corner offices. Before betrayal became a word I had to taste in my own mouth. I climb the porch steps. Each footfall feels loud in the stillness. She doesn't move until I'm within arm's reach, then steps forward, breath fogging in the air between us. "Eldrick," she says, voice low, "I want to explain everything. The pay cut, the decisions. I didn't know how to bring it to you before, but I can't let it sit between us anymore." I study her face, lit by the last light of sunset. There are more lines now, but they're lines I know mapped over decades of love and hardship. She's not the HR director now. She's just Leora, the woman I married 30 years ago, the woman I raised a son with, the woman who once held my hand during a storm so bad we thought the house would collapse. Why now, I ask, my voice rougher than I intend. After all this time, after letting me fall alone. Her eyes fill, but she doesn't look away. "Because I don't want to lose you," she says. "Not like we lost Thane." His name hits hard, a shared wound, the one grief we still don't know how to carry together. I exhale slowly, the cold air tight in my chest. "Okay," I whisper. "Tomorrow. We'll talk." Her hand reaches out, touches my arm. Just that. No pleading, no theatrics. Just contact. Real. Familiar. Inside the house, light spills onto the snow like a welcome. For a long beat, we just stand there, two tired souls beneath a darkening sky, trying to remember how to begin again. I glance up. Stars are starting to blink through the clouds. The harbor behind us murmurs with the rhythm of waves. And in my pocket, Thane's letter presses against my side like a question mark. Is he really here? Is this the night our family begins to piece itself back together, or finally drifts apart? I don't know, but I look at the wreaths again, their ribbons fluttering like memories. I remember the Christmases we shared, laughing, decorating the tree, Thane sneaking cookies when he thought we weren't looking. Those echoes are still in this house, still in us. Maybe it's not much. A promise, a small act of kindness, a hand on an arm. But maybe it's enough to start. The snow falls harder now, blanketing the town in silence, smoothing the edges of everything. I open the door and step inside, still holding the fragile light of sunset in my heart. Snow pushes hard against the windows of our old Maine home, wind howling like a beast in the dark. It's Christmas Eve, though it feels anything but holy. The world outside is white and raging. The world inside is silent and dim. I sit in the living room, the fire long dead in the hearth, only the soft glow of the Christmas tree keeping the night from swallowing me whole. I'm Eldrick, 62, and this is the loneliest I've felt in decades. The pine scent from the tree mingles with something colder, more bitter regret, maybe. The ornaments still hang untouched by time, collected over years of trying. Some were Thane's from when he still smiled easily and believed I was worth looking up to. I glance toward the wall where his painting hangs stormy seas, a twisted sky above them, a ship in the distance, barely holding course. It used to make me proud. Now it feels like an accusation. Upstairs, I know Leora is awake. She said she'd talk tonight, that we'd finally have the conversation we'd both been dodging since the HR beating. But that promise echoes now like so many others, vague and hollow. The pay cut, 60%, still slices through my mind like a fresh wound. Not just numbers on paper, no. It was my dignity, my worth carved away in a boardroom with fluorescent lights and tight smiles. We had some savings, but they wouldn't last. And that knowledge is a constant throb beneath my ribs. Still, one thing kept me grounded. Thane's message. Just 5 words, I'm in town. Let's talk. I hadn't seen him in nearly a decade. The distance between us wasn't just physical. It had grown sharp and personal, forged in pride and words neither of us could take back. But he was here now. Maybe this was a second chance. Then the phone rang. A sharp, insistent sound. I reached for it, breath-catching. Eldrick came the voice, rough and familiar. Carl. We'd worked side by side for years before I was asked, no told, to accept the new terms. Yeah, I said, heart thudding. Carl. What is it? There was a pause. A long one. You deserve to know the truth, he said. Leora didn't push for your pay cut. It was Thane. Time stopped. The words didn't register at first. What? I managed my voice thin and foreign. He called HR directly. Carl continued his voice like gravel. Said you'd agree to the cut. That you'd do it willingly to support his art. I found the note. His note. In the records. It was buried, but I thought you should see it. No, I whispered. No, that can't. Carl, are you sure I sent it to your email just now? Open it. You need to see it yourself. He hung up. I sat frozen for a few seconds, staring at the screen in my mind before I finally moved. My hands were trembling as I opened the laptop. The inbox blinked to life. And there it was. Carl's name. A scanned image attached. I clicked. Thane's handwriting. I knew it like I knew the sound of my own name. The words were unmistakable. Dad can handle the cut. My project needs the funding more than he does. For a moment, there was no air in the room. My chest tightened. I couldn't move, couldn't think. I just stared. Thane. My son. The boy who painted that seascape at 17, who ran barefoot across the dunes in summer, who told me once that he wanted to capture the sky because it made him feel less small. He did this. My memory dragged me backward. We were in the garage. He was 25, smeared in paint, furious. I had just torn into him for turning down a job interview. He shouted something like, "You never believed in me, Dad, not once." And I had laughed, coldly. "That's because it's a hobby, Thane. One day, you'll need to grow up." That night he left. No goodbye. Just silence that stretched over years like frost growing inward on a window. My throat burned. "Leora," I called, barely recognizing my voice. Footsteps creaked above. She descended slowly like she already knew what waited for her. Her face was pale, lips tight, eyes wide. I turned the laptop toward her. "Did you know?" I asked, voice low and sharp. She didn't answer right away. Her hands knotted at her sides. "Did you know Thane pushed my cut?" I asked again, louder this time. "Eldrick," she began, but I cut her off. "Don't lie to me." I pointed to the screen. "That's his handwriting." She sank onto the couch as if her legs had given way. For a moment, all she did was breathe. Then softly, I found out a few weeks ago, after the cut happened. I didn't know what to do. I thought if we could just talk to him. "You should have told me," I said, not yelling, not quite. But my voice cracked from the weight of it all. "I didn't want to destroy what was left," she whispered. "I thought maybe if he came back, if he saw you." The silence grew thick. The radio, long forgotten in the background, crackled with another storm warning, roads closing, power lines down. A voice said to stay inside. But inside wasn't safe either. Not anymore. I looked again at the painting. Those angry waves. That tiny boat. What was he thinking when he wrote that note, that I was some old fool he could gut for funding, that my love for him meant I wouldn't mind? Or was it revenge? My mind spiraled. What if this was the only way he knew how to be seen? What if I'd pushed him so far away, the only connection he could make now was through a wound? And yet, how could he? I stood and paced the snow, tapping against the windows like fingers trying to get in. My whole life had been about building something solid, a family, a career, a future. Now, in one night, it all felt undone. Leora sat quietly, tears on her cheeks, but I couldn't reach for her. Not yet. I wanted to call Thane. I wanted to demand an answer, hear the truth from his lips. But fear rooted me to the floor. Not fear of him, but of what he might say. Of how much more it could still hurt. Outside, the storm howled louder. Inside, I listened to the wreckage of what we used to be. And I waited, caught between fury and longing, between a father's heartbreak and the echo of a son's choice, hoping the blizzard wouldn't bury what little chance we had left. The Maine coastline rests in stillness now. Hours ago, the wind had howled through the pines and hurled itself against the old cottage, but the blizzard has passed, leaving only a gentle drift of snow that slides silently past the frosted windows. Inside, however, the quiet feels heavier than any storm. It's the kind of silence that settles not just in the room, but in the bones, in the spaces between what was said and what still needs to be. I sit alone near the hearth, the fire reduced to low embers casting faint amber glows on the wooden floorboards. I'm 62, though. Tonight I feel older than the crackling timbers above me, or the creaking rocking chair I occupy. The Christmas tree in the corner flickers gently, its lights blinking with a strange kind of hope. The scent of cedar lingers from the logs we burned earlier, mingling with the trace of wax and spice from a dinner that tried bravely to hold us together. It almost worked. Thane's journal lies open on the table spine, gently curled, the ink still etched fresh in my memory. The truth inside it, sharp, disarming, refuses to fade. My son hadn't tried to sabotage me with that brutal 60% pay cut. He'd orchestrated it with quiet precision behind the scenes, not out of resentment, but because he saw what I couldn't, or wouldn't. The job I clung to, the one I believed gave me purpose, was consuming me cell by cell, inch by inch. He acted not out of betrayal, but love shaped by fear. Fear that I would never let go until there was nothing left of me. His silence I'd mistaken for indifference. In truth, it was his way of fighting for me when I was too proud to admit I needed saving. Upstairs, I hear Leora's faint movements. She went up after dinner, leaving behind the shadow of an apology and a silence laced with sorrow. Her eyes, red and uncertain, had met mine only once before she disappeared behind the stairwell. Thane is in the guest room. Now, he gave me a hesitant nod when I thanked him for dinner. The words between us were few, but they mattered. Our reconciliation, if I can even call it that, is brittle, like the snow delicately balanced on the pine boughs outside. A single misstep, a wrong word, and it could all fall again. The money problems haven't gone anywhere. Our savings account, modest, tired offers, little comfort. Retirement looms without cushion, and inflation continues its quiet invasion. But strangely, it isn't the finances that weigh heaviest on me tonight. It's something less visible, more intimate. The slow, unwelcome understanding that I was not only the victim in this family rift, I was often the cause. I think of how I minimized Thane's art, brushing it off as a nice hobby, instead of honoring it as his calling. How I dismissed Leora's frustrations at work, treating them like the weather unpleasant, but passing. I'd show up to dinner grumbling, worn down, as if my endurance were a gift they ought to applaud. I thought sacrifice made me noble. That quiet suffering proved my strength. But I was wrong. I didn't listen. Not to their worries, not to their efforts to reach me, not even to the echo of my own unhappiness. I thought holding everything in was love. But it wasn't love, it was distance, and I built it brick by brick. Thane's voice returns to me like the sea tide slipping over cold sand. You didn't listen, Dad. And Leora's laced with years of pain. We all failed each other. I shift in my chair, stirring the embers. They crackle in protest, a few sparks floating upward, brief, beautiful, then gone. I glance outside. The harbor is more suggestion than shape, now muffled beneath snowfall. The boats, gently swaying in their moorings, look like sleeping beasts beneath white blankets. I imagine one of Thane's canvases, storm clouds rolling over dark water waves like fury, and remember how I once scoffed at it, said it was too dramatic. Too much. But now I understand it wasn't a painting of weather. It was a portrait of our home. Of me. The storm was never just outside these walls. It was in the slammed doors, the withheld words, the jokes I made at their expense, veiled as teasing, the cold silences I weaponized when I felt misunderstood. And here I am staring at a tree wrapped in light and memory. There's something holy in its quiet. I think of what forgiveness really is, not a ribboned phrase or hollow ceremony. It's admitting that I, too, inflicted wounds. It's laying down the sword I didn't know I carried. It's realizing that peace is not a gift passed down, but a bridge built slowly over time from the wreckage. Dinner gave us the blueprint. No yelling, no accusations, just roasted lamb heavy pauses and 3 people daring to look each other in the eye. It was a start. But starts mean nothing if you stop moving. My phone is dark on the side table. I chuckle, just barely remembering Thane's constant ribbing about how I could crash a phone with just my glare. The memory brings a flicker of warmth, and then just as quickly the weight returns. What now? What now for us, not as fractured roles of father, wife, son, but as people still trying? The fire lets out a sigh as I rise, coat in hand. I step outside. The cold bites instantly, sharp, honest. The kind of cold that doesn't pretend. Above me, stars blink into the clearing sky, quiet sentinels over the harbor. The snow touches everything, softening hard lines, erasing footprints. A clean slate. And I allow myself to feel small under it all. Not broken, just humbled. They hurt me. That's true. But I hurt them too, maybe worse, and yet I still believe in us, in this imperfect, scarred family. And I believe healing isn't something you demand, it's something you choose, again and again. Forgiveness, I'm learning, isn't a final chapter. It's a daily vow, a choice made each morning, sometimes in silence, sometimes in pain. I whisper it now into the open air, watching my breath rise like prayer. I will try. We're not whole, not yet. But we're not finished either. The blizzard rages beyond the frost-bitten windows of our old seaside home in Camden, Maine. Snow swirls in thick, blinding gusts, piling against the porch, muffling the world outside into a white, howling silence. It's Christmas Eve, but the warmth of the holiday feels like a memory that belongs to someone else. I'm Eldrick, 62, alone in the living room, where the glow of the Christmas tree flickers dimly in the gloom. Its ornaments cast trembling shadows on the walls, ghosts of better years maybe. The scent of pine needles mingles with something older, sadder dust. Old books, the faint trace of firewood smoke from a hearth that hasn't been lit tonight. And underneath it all, the ache of betrayal. Not just any betrayal. My son's. The note sits folded on the mantel, taunting me with its brief cruelty. Dad can handle the cut. 5 words. A surgical strike. 5 words that unraveled 35 years of fatherhood. Thane, my only child, had known what that corporate cut would do to me, what it meant to our retirement, to our stability. And he'd gone along with it anyway. Traded my livelihood for a chance to keep his art grant alive. It was Carl, an old friend, still loyal enough to whisper hard truths, who called me yesterday and told me the board meeting minutes didn't add up. That's how I found out. Not from my son, from a colleague, from a stranger's voice on the phone. Financial strain has been knocking on our door for months, and now it's forcing its way in. But even that isn't the worst of it. What truly lingers, what's hardest to face, is what happened at the docks last night. The silence, the cold, the space that opened between Thane and me, like the frozen sea itself. I tried to speak to him, but he was all silence and bitter glances. And when he walked away into the wind, I knew something had cracked. Maybe it had cracked long ago. Leora is upstairs asleep, or pretending to be. Her quiet tonight feels like judgment, or maybe it's grief. We haven't said much since the truth came out. I don't blame her. She's been caught between us for years, and now the weight of everything is pressing inward, just like the storm outside. My eyes fall on the journal. Thane's leather-bound notebook sits on the coffee table, half open, like it's waiting to speak. But before I can reach for it, I see the painting hanging on the far wall. I'd forgotten he left it here. Stormy seas. Dark blue-gray swells crashing under a churning sky. Thick brushstrokes. Movement. Emotion. Fury. It's the same painting he carried out of this house the last time we truly spoke. My feet move before I think. I approach it, and lift my hand to trace the edge of the frame. And suddenly, I'm not here anymore. I'm back in this room 10 years ago. It was July then, hot and golden, the windows wide open to the sea air. Thane was 25, barefoot shirt, smudged with paint, his eyes lit with something I didn't recognize back then, purpose, passion. "I'm going to sell it, Dad," he said, voice shaking but strong. "I'm making it real. This is my life. And God help me." I didn't hear him. I heard rebellion. I heard impracticality. I heard risk. I was 52, a regional manager with a career built on discipline and planning. I thought I was guiding him when I said, "Art's a hobby, Thane. You need a real job." I still remember the way he flinched, like I'd slapped him, and then the anger rose in him like a wave. "You never believed in me," he hissed. He grabbed the painting off the easel, the one now hanging here, and left without another word. I didn't go after him, didn't call, didn't even look out the window as he disappeared down the path. That was the day the real silence began. Back in the present, I find myself sitting again, the edges of my vision blurring. The painting swims through my tears. Guilt claws at my chest, not just for what Thane did now, but for what I did then. For pushing him away. For not listening. For mistaking love for control. Maybe this betrayal wasn't only his. Maybe it's been building for years. I reach for the journal. My hand shakes. What will I find in there? Rage, resentment. Or worse, nothing. A son who stopped writing about me long ago. I hesitate. Fingers hovering above the leather. The radio hums softly in the background, some worn-out Christmas tune about family, about home, about forgiveness. The irony cuts deep. Then I hear her. Leora's footsteps creak on the old staircase. I don't turn. I just sit there, journal untouched, the painting, staring down at us both like an unspoken accusation. She stops behind me, quiet. When she speaks, her voice is gentle, almost reverent. "You kept it up all these years." I nod slowly. I couldn't take it down. There's silence between us, but not the cold kind. A waiting kind. Her presence, though distant, is not rejection. Just weariness. Shared weight. "Did I do this to him?" I whisper. "Did I make him like this?" She walks over, sits beside me, not touching, but close enough that I feel her warmth. Her eyes are tired, and something like regret flickers in them. "We both did," she says. "I didn't stop you. I didn't stand up for him. I let him go too." Her words don't offer comfort. They offer truth. But truth is a kind of mercy I'm beginning to understand. The wall between us is thin tonight. The storms stripped everything else away. And maybe this is where healing starts. Not with forgiveness, not yet. But with acknowledgement, with finally naming the ache. The journal still waits. The painting still looms. We were a family once, I think, and I helped break it. Not with anger, but with silence. With pride. With the things I didn't say, and the trust I didn't show. But maybe, just maybe, it isn't too late to reach across the years. To read his words, to answer them, to begin again not as the father I was, but as the man I am now, willing to listen. The blizzard roars outside, wild and relentless, but inside, in this room where time has circled back on itself, something else stirs. A quiet resolve, a small, fragile hope. It begins with one page. Outside, the blizzard had finally begun to quiet its howl. Snow drifted down in softer waves, now blanketing Camden Harbor in a serene, ghostly hush. From where I sat in our old Maine seaside home, the window pane glowed faintly with Christmas lights reflecting off the white-covered world beyond. The air was thick with the scent of pine needles, and old paper memories of holidays past, woven into the very walls. The Christmas tree, though slightly leaning and missing a few bulbs, cast a gentle warmth across the living room. Its light flickered softly against the large painting above the fireplace. Thane's painting, an abstract storm rendered in broad, angry strokes. It had always unsettled me. Tonight, it felt personal. I'm Eldrick 62 this winter. My wife Leora and I have lived here since we were newlyweds. We raised our son Thane in this very house. Now it feels too quiet, too hollow. Thane hasn't come home for 3 Christmases. Leora sat beside me on the couch, her wool blanket tucked under her chin, shoulders trembling slightly. Her eyes were rimmed red, not just from the wind outside, but from the weight of everything left unpaid. The silence between us wasn't cold, just heavy, thick with years of guilt, regrets, misunderstandings. The radio had gone silent after hours of weather warnings and travel advisories. Even the storm outside seemed to pause as if waiting for us to speak. On the coffee table lay Thane's journal, his leather-bound notebook scuffed and well-worn, its spine creased with use. Carl, an old colleague of mine, had called earlier that day. "You didn't hear it from me," he'd said in a low tone, but it was Thane who pushed for that 60% salary cut. Said it was best for everyone. HR just followed his lead. That revelation had stunned me. I'd thought Thane's silence was punishment, a son's rebellion against a father who'd never believed in his art. Instead, it appeared the betrayal wasn't what I imagined. I picked up the journal fingers, tracing the worn edges. Leora leaned in her breath, catching audibly as I flipped it open to a random page. Thane's handwriting was as jagged and erratic as ever, passionate, impulsive, and raw. I began to read aloud, voice low, uncertain. Dad's job was draining him slowly, like a leak in a sinking ship. The late nights, the stress, the constant pressure to fix everything. I saw it in his eyes. He was dying on his feet. I begged him to retire. He wouldn't, so I told HR to cut his pay. Drastically. Force him out. I didn't do it for me, for art, or ambition. I did it for him. I wanted him to live again. My throat tightened mid-sentence. The words blurred as my vision swam. Leora let out a small broken sound beside me, her hand covering her mouth. "He didn't betray us," I murmured, barely able to believe it myself. He tried to save me." Tears spilled down Leora's cheeks. "He never told me. I thought he was just angry with us. With you." I shook my head slowly. "No. He was protecting me, and I've spent all this time thinking he resented me." I looked over at her, seeing the pain I knew mirrored my own. I blamed him, Leora, and all along he was trying to set me free. She reached for my hand and held it tightly. "We pushed him away, Eldrick, and still he cared." I nodded, unable to speak for a moment. I turned another page in the journal. There were sketches now loose, incomplete, but unmistakable. A quick study of our harbor in winter. A delicate pencil rendering of Leora mid-laugh, caught in a moment I couldn't even remember. A shaded drawing of my old office chair empty. Quietly powerful images. Each one a quiet offering. A way for Thane to stay close when he couldn't bring himself to return. His love had been there the whole time, just hidden. Rendered not in words, but ink. His brushstrokes weren't angry anymore. I could see it now, they were protective, almost pleading. Empathy shifts things, reorders your anger, forces you to reframe what you thought you knew. Looking at those pages, I didn't see rebellion or resentment. I saw love clumsy and unspoken, but love nonetheless. I saw a son trying to do for his father what the father never did for him, intervene. Save him. We never asked why he did it? Leora whispered, her voice trembling. We just assumed. Because it was easier, I said. It was easier to be hurt than to be humbled. Why didn't he just say it? She asked, eyes searching mine. Why not just tell us the truth? I closed the journal gently. Pride, I said, like father, like son. The Christmas tree lights flickered again, dimmed, then returned. The old main power grid was doing its best to hold steady. Outside, the storm was retreating, wind settling into gentle whispers through the eaves. But inside, something else had shifted. The kind of storm that doesn't howl, but breaks you quietly over time. I looked down again at the final entry in Thane's journal. Scribbled in the margin were just 3 words, I'm in town. A text I'd brushed off earlier, as vague, perhaps even cold. Now it carried weight. Possibility. He's here, I said aloud, heart racing for the first time in days. He didn't just send this journal. He brought it. Leora straightened slightly. Do you think he'll come tonight? I don't know, I said, but we need to be ready if he does. I placed the journal back on the table, its pages open like an invitation. We couldn't undo the years or the choices, but we could choose something else now, something better. Forgiveness doesn't come easy for people our age, not because we don't want it, but because we've spent so long learning to live without it. But Thane had given us a chance. Not with a knock on the door or a dramatic reunion, but with ink and memory, heartbreak and hope. The storm outside might be easing, but the real storm, the one between father, mother, and son, was only just beginning to clear. And maybe, just maybe, there was still time to make peace before morning. Honesty heals even when it hurts. That's what I hold on to as I sit at our main dining table, the Christmas Eve snow soft, outside our seaside home. I'm Eldrick 62, my heart pounding under the glow of mismatched candles. The air smells of lobster bisque and pine, the table set with Leora's old china, chipped but cherished. Thane's journal. Its revelation that he pushed my 60% pay cut to save me from a toxic job rests in my lap, a weight of truth. Financial strains ever present, our savings thin, but tonight's about more than money. Thane's here 35, his paint-stained hands fidgeting across from me. Leora beside him stirs her soup eyes wary. This dinner's our chance to face the pain we've carried. The room's warm, the Christmas tree twinkling in the corner. A lobster dinner. Maine's pride steams before us, claws bright against the tablecloth. My phone buzzes an app notification, but I ignore it, chuckling at my usual tech fumbles. Still fighting that thing I say, breaking the silence. Thane smirks, a flicker of the boy I knew. But the journal's truth looms, and I can't wait, Thane. I start voice steady. I read your journal. You pushed my pay cut. Why didn't you tell me? His spoon clatters, eyes wide. Dad, no more secrets. I cut in, leaning forward. You thought you were saving me, but you broke us. Why hide it? Leora's hand trembles, soup untouched. Eldrick, he was scared, she says. We all were. Scared, I snap, old anger flaring. Of what me? The truth. Thane stands, chair scraping. Of losing you, he shouts. Your job was killing you, heart racing, no sleep. I saw it, Dad. I told HR to cut you loose. Not for my art, for you. The words hit raw and real. I slump back, breath short. You should have talked to me, I say softer now. Not gone behind my back. I tried, Thane says, voice breaking. You called my art a hobby. You didn't listen. Guilt stabs me the flashback of our fight. Vivid. Leora reaches for Thane's hand, then mine. We all failed, she says, tears falling. I enforced the cut, knowing it hurt. I'm sorry, Eldrick. The table's quiet candles flickering. Positive justice is truth shared, I think. And it's freeing us. I nod, throat tight. I'm sorry, too, I say. For pushing you away, Thane. For not seeing you, Leora. Thane exhales, sitting down. I'm here now, he says. I want us back. I reach across, gripping his shoulder, then Leora's hand. The hug's awkward, fierce a knot, untying. Dialogue did this, I think, raw and messy but real. The lobster's cold, but the warmth's in us. Thane's text. I'm in town was his plan this moment. What's next? I wonder the question, a spark of hope. The Christmas lights hum, Maine's power steady now. We're not fixed, but we're fighting, I reflect. And that's enough. The table holds our truth chipped, but whole like us. The Maine coastline is quiet now, the blizzard that had once rattled the windows reduced to a whisper of snowflakes drifting gently past the glass. Inside, the silence has a different weight. I sit alone by the hearth, age 62, watching the last embers glow in sync with the soft twinkle of the Christmas lights strung along the tree in the corner. The scent of cedar and melted wax hangs in the air, leftovers from the candlelit dinner that tried haltingly to patch the pieces of a fractured family. Thane's journal lies on the table, its pages half opened, truth curling up like smoke from its words. The revelation is still fresh, still raw. My son had lobbied for my 60% pay cut behind closed doors, not to betray me, but to shield me from the slow poison of a job I'd refused to admit was breaking me. His silence was never indifference. It was an act of quiet defiance against a system that had drained me, body and soul. Upstairs, Leora's footsteps are faint. She'd retreated after dinner, leaving behind a half-finished apology and tear-brimmed eyes. Thane, in the guest room, had simply nodded when I thanked him. Awkward, unsteady, but real. The truce we reached over roast lamb and red wine felt fragile like snow on a pine branch. Too much weight, and it might all collapse again. The financial pressure hasn't gone anywhere. Our savings account is more symbolic than secure a thin veil against the reality of rising costs and dwindling income. But it's not the money that presses hardest against my chest tonight. It's something deeper, something older. The slow, creeping realization that I have not just been the wounded party in all this, I've also been the blade. I've blamed them both in whispers and in silence. I called Thane's art a nice distraction. I dismissed Leora's complaints about her HR department with a shrug and a sigh. I kept showing up to dinner exhausted, expecting praise for enduring a job I quietly resented. I mistook sacrifice for virtue and pride for strength. But I never truly listened. Not to their pain, not to their love, not even to myself. Thane's words from earlier return like a tide. You didn't listen, Dad. And Leora's heavy with truth. We all failed each other. They weren't wrong. I stir the fire. Sparks rise like fleeting memories. Out the window, the harbor is just a vague outline, boats rocking gently, snow softening the world. I can almost see Thane's painting in my mind, waves crashing beneath a storm-lit sky. It once felt dramatic, overly emotional. Now it feels like a mirror. I see the storms I brought into this house, the slammed doors, the long silences, the dismissive comments cloaked as concern. I built walls, not bridges, and the heat from the fire can't melt the ice I put between us. The tree glows beside me, a quiet beacon in the corner. There's something sacred in its stillness. I think of what forgiveness really means. It's not just saying, "I forgive you." It's admitting you too were wrong. It's understanding that love often drowns under the weight of pride. That peace isn't given, it's built brick by brick, often after the war. Dinner opened the first door. Apologies were exchanged. Voices didn't rise, and for the first time in weeks we looked each other in the eye. But if I want that door to stay open, I need to step through it. Not with more words, but with truth. With humility. My phone sits dark on the side table. No frozen apps, no annoying updates. I smile faintly, remembering all the times Thane teased me about my technological tantrums. But the humor fades quickly. What now? That's the question that lingers. Not just about finances or careers, but about us. About healing. I stand the fire popping behind me. I pull on my coat and step out into the snow. The cold bites, but it feels clean, clarifying. The harbor is hushed, the sea calm beneath a sky, slowly revealing its stars. For the first time in a long while, I let myself feel small beneath it all. Not in defeat, but in perspective. I've hurt them as surely as they've hurt me, maybe even more. But I still believe in us. In this family, and I believe healing begins not when others change, but when I do. Forgiveness isn't a destination, it's a decision. One I will make again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. A quiet vow whispered into the cold Maine night under the stars, as snow dusts my shoulders like absolution. We're not finished. Not yet. The Maine seaside home glows under a starry Christmas Eve sky snow blanketing the harbor in peace. I'm Eldrick 62 in our living room. The Christmas tree's lights dancing across Thane's stormy painting now reframed with care. The air smells of mulled wine and hope. The fireplace crackling warmly. Leora's beside me, her smile soft, while Thane, 35, sets out his new canvas. A harbor at dawn. Our family's resilience in every stroke. The pay cut 60% of my old life faded in the light of truth. Thane's sacrifice to save me. Leora's guilt, my pride. Financial strains still here, but tonight family bonds are stronger. We've faced our storms and found our way home. The dining room's alive, the table cleared of last night's tension. Lobster rolls. Maine's heart sit beside Leora's homemade pie, a tradition. My phone pings a banking app, finally mastered, showing a small savings plan we've started together. I grin, no more tech fumbles. Look at me, a digital whiz I tease, and Thane laughs. Leora squeezing my hand. The warmth's real, our dinner confession's a foundation rebuilt. Thane. I say, raising a glass, "Your painting, it's us, isn't it? Stronger for the storm." He nods, eyes bright. I painted it for tonight, for home. Leora lifts her glass. To family, she says, voice steady. To starting again. We clink glasses, mulled wine sweet on my tongue. Reconciliation's messy, but it's ours, I think, built on dialogue. The Christmas lights twinkle Maine's power steady now. Thane pulls out his guitar, an old habit, and strums Silent Night. Leora joins her voice soft, then mine rusty but sure. The song's our signature moment, a thread from childhood Christmases weaving us back together. Over 55s know this music mends what words can't, a balm for loneliness. Remember when we sang this, Thane asks, pausing. You'd carry me to bed. Still would if you weren't so damn tall, I say, and we laugh, tears mixing in. Leora sets down her glass. I'm sorry again, she says, for the cut, for the silence. I'm sorry too, Thane adds, for hiding the truth. And me, I say, throat tight, for my pride. We're here now. The guitar hums, our voices rising. Family bonds hold even when they bend, I reflect. And this is our strength. The harbor's calm outside, stars reflecting on the water. I think of the call Carl's revelation that broke us open only to heal us. Share your story. I want to say to anyone listening because it's never too late. The song ends, and we sit, hands linked, the painting watching over us. We're home, I think, and that's enough. The night's ours, a new Christmas begun. Our voices linger singing Silent Night, our hands clasped in this Maine home's glow. Forgiveness healed us. Thane, Leora, and me. Teaching that dialogue rebuilds what pride tears down. Compassion, like Christmas lights, brightens the darkest nights. Love finds a way even through regret. For those over 55, caring for family mirrors this struggle, binding us in hope. Share your family story, and let's light the way together.